Hello, I'm Lisa Dad, and I am thrilled to be with you today as you continue your journey to poise, presence, and personal power. I know that you have been walking through the realm of the naturalist and dancing into the realm of the muse as you have been using the philosopher's compass to navigate your way. Today, we are going to come singing into the realm of the alchemist. It is all about giving voice and expression to who we truly are. As we come into the realm of the alchemist, I'll have you take notice that this realm happens in the West. I think about the West because the setting sun, it's almost like we've had a chance to illuminate some new things in our lives by going through the naturalist and making friends with death, and then being in curiosity and childlike wonder in the muse. And as we come into the alchemist, it is this beautiful converging and merging of the body, heart, and spirit. It happens in the season of autumn, which is this beautiful reflection of transformation and my own personal favorite season. So we'll talk about the three essential qualities that allow us to use the realm of the alchemist to start to really understand, own, stand in, and express our personal power and the magic that occurs as a result of that. Speaking of magic, let's talk a little bit about alchemy. I think of alchemy from being, thousands of years old. I think of the medicine men and this magicians, witches, and wizards that were able to take seemingly normal, common day elements and magically transform them into something else that was more rare and valuable. An alchemist is a person who transforms or creates something through seemingly magical processes. So today, as we go through this realm and you start to consider how does this grow my own personal power, I want you to consider that although it's seemingly magical, there are some very clear, specific, practical ways that we can start to shift our behaviors, our thoughts, our beliefs in order to create magic in and around us, for ourselves, for the ones we love, for the world in general. So looking at the essential qualities, the first one is the magician of transformation. We'll talk about purified personality and what it means to be creating from the heart. As we start with the magician of transformation, I love the symbol of an autumn leaf to reflect what is happening. Since I was a very young girl, I have witnessed the changing of the leaves and in autumn, and every year it never ceases to amaze me that they seem to happen magically overnight. It's like at one moment we're looking up and the landscape is green, and then boom, it's yellow or red and purple and all these beautiful magical colors. Now, the scientist in me knows that the elements were in that leaf all along, that the chlorophyll that was always in that leaf starts to break down, and it's just an expression of what is already inside the leaf. And isn't that a beautiful reflection of transformation, is that it comes from within. So the magician of transformation is all about from within versus external. Now, a lot of times we can get stuck wishing or hoping or even trying to change someone or something from the outside. And then I start to think of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror song, and I think about the fact that I'm starting with the man in the mirror. And we think about the world is really a true reflection of us. And so our experience or our perception of what is happening is actually a reflecting who we are. So the magician of transformation, as we start to think about, and this is where your personal power is found, as we get clearer and clearer on who we are, truly at our core, at our highest version of ourselves, and we start living into that, that's when things start to magically shift around us, because our experiences are being reflected back at us. And if you can think about a situation recently where you may have not been as effective as you meant to be, who could you have been in that moment to shift? Not thinking about what could that other person have said or done from the outside to change things, but who would I have needed to be? What would that have looked like? And it's amazing when we start to shift that, what that looks like. A simple shift in perspective can change things. And that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about. We're going to do a little exercise shortly on how do we do that? How do we actually show up in our own personal power? And how does that become the power for shifting other people into theirs? The next essential quality is the purified personality. Now, I think the purification process is a process of distilling something down into its core ingredients. That means we're distilling something and getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't belong. And when I think about the personality, it's like if we could distill ourselves into the highest version of ourselves, the best version of ourselves, what would we be getting rid of? We'd be getting rid of sort of past experiences that didn't serve us, anxieties about the future that we don't even exist. We'd be purifying out some of our ego ways, our fears and our limiting beliefs, and we'd be left with this whole purified personality. And what would that look like if we could express who we are and what we want to see in the world from that place? Now, here's the thing. We don't need, similarly to the magic of transformation, the fact that the leaf already has the chlorophyll in it to create the process of changing. We have that within us as well. So I want you to close your eyes for a moment so I can take you through a little bit of process to reintroduce you to who that is. So close your eyes for a moment and take a nice deep breath. And I want you to bring to your mind a time when you felt really free to be you. A time where you knew that the best version of you was showing up. Now, maybe it was a time when you were a child and you were free and playing and having fun. Perhaps it was a time when you were connecting with someone that you love and you were able to support them and receive support from them. Maybe you were at work and you were being a powerhouse and what you were saying and what you were doing was making a difference in the world. I want you just to take yourself back to a time, or maybe you're seeing several times when you weren't really worried about being you. You just got to be you. And you almost amazed yourself. Maybe it was one of the most proud moments of your life. And think about some of those accomplishments that you thought, yeah, that was the real me. And I want you to think about who you were being in that moment. What did it feel like for you? Were you being really loving and compassionate? Or maybe you were being really bold and courageous. Maybe you were being inspiring. What are some of the words that describe who you were being? If yourself now is looking back in that moment and describing that person, saying, wow, in that moment I was really showing up. And this is what it looked like. So think of some of those words as you start to open your eyes and bring yourself back to the room. I want you to write down a few of those adjectives that you've come up with. Now, Christine, I know, took you through a similar process to create your key to enter the compass. And at that time, we were thinking about who we wanted to be. This moment is really about distilling who you truly are and always have been. And some of these terms may be a little bit more general and not specific to what you're creating right now in your life, but I want you to think about who you be when your true self is shining forth. Sometimes it sneaks out when you're not even thinking about it. For me, I think of this sort of as your superpowers. As we start to distill down to the purified personality, when you are in that place, it is really, really powerful. And this is where the essence of your personal power resides. So, for example, if you'd said, I was being really courageous and compassionate, and I was really connected. You say, like, when I show up and I'm really connected and compassionate and courageous, what does that look like and who do I be? And as you can consider, as we talked about the magician of transformation, if you are in a relationship, in a conversation, or if you're at work and you are able to step into those qualities of who you truly are, how does your environment shift around you? What does your perception now look like? That's where the true magic comes from, and that's where your power is. Now, we think of these two things, the magician of transformation and even the purifying personality. This is an awareness and a choice. It's like I'm really aware that as I shift, things around me shift. When I think about purifying my personality, I'm choosing to live in to that version of me that I can be really proud of. That is really just sort of even natural for me. That piece of me that was really meant to be. So the next step in the realm of the alchemist is creating from the heart. And this is where the external expression happens. So I want you to consider again, if you had thought of a situation where maybe you've not been as effective as you want, or something in your life is not going in the direction that you want it, whether it's with a loved one, with work, with just having fun and just expressing who you are in the world. What could be created if you really tapped into your heart and lived from that place of being? So this is the moment where you say, let's see, if we're actually creating, how active this is in consciously creating your reality. So if you're going out to dinner with friends and you say, my friends always sway me one way or the other, and sometimes I don't get my word in edgewise, or I don't really share what I'm really up to because I'm kind of afraid of what they'll think. They'll think I'm a little too woo-woo, or they won't support my idea. That sounds a little crazy. And again, what could you create if you came from that purified personality? You say, what would my courageous, connected, compassionate self sound like? How would I show up in that moment? What would I say? What are some of the things that I would do? And what could I create in that environment with that relationship? And if I stepped into that in my own life, in my job, in my company, if that courageous version of me showed up, what could I create? If that more connected version of me could show up, what could I create? This is where we start to really give voice to who we are. And this is where the magic of poise, presence, and personal power live at the realm of the alchemist. If I'm being really, really present to my moment, if I'm poised to show up in my highest version of myself, how powerful could that be? What reality could I create? And how would others transform around me? How would my reality open up to new possibilities? So I hope you are feeling the power of that. And it becomes a really solid foundation of power. It's a place where we don't need to give others our power by reacting and responding to things around us, but having the poise to be able to come to a situation and say, wow, okay, in this moment, am I being the highest version of myself? That in and of itself is power. Hopefully that has been supportive of you on this journey. And as you start to create the alchemy of your own life and your own transformation, I am so excited to see, and I know from my heart what you'll be able to create. All the best to you and your journey as you continue on to the next realm and see the magic of the philosopher's compass along your journey.